by its name. The people voted, and their vote was loud and clear. Issa Tchiroma won the election by a landslide. There's no doubt about that. There's nothing that we need to speculate across the country. If you just look at the widespread response that how people took to the streets on their own motion, nobody asked them to. On their own motion after the proclamation, we saw that happen and continued across the country. In all regions of the country, we saw some form of manifestation, and obviously not necessarily in the English speaking regions of the country, but across the country. The English region of the country are already experiencing their own challenges. So let's not mince any words. What happened, it was the plan that the regime had all through before and after, before the elections, during, and obviously after the elections. What they didn't plan for was how people were going to be engaged in the electoral process, how people were going to defend their vote at the polling stations, and how people were going to respond to their proclamation of results that were a fictitious of their imagination. So in the last week, we've seen Cameroonians step up. They defended their votes, and now they're defending their victory. And they're defending their victory through legitimate means, meaning taking to the streets, which is a right that they have. At Project C, we cannot stand by as spectators in this process. Neither can we allow the Cameroonian people to only be victims in this process, but we must become architects of the future that we want for Cameroon. And that architecture depends on each one of us, you and I, and all the millions of people across Cameroon who voted for the candidate, even those who didn't vote for and those who didn't participate in the electoral process. So this opens up a completely new chapter, one for Project C, but also for the Cameroonian people. Project C, we had hoped that by this time we would have folded this project and moved on to the next phase, which would have been building a prosperous country for the Cameroonian people. But that is not the case. Our mission, therefore, becomes effectively, how do we accomplish the goal of a peaceful transition in Cameroon? And it is based on that we're going to share with you at some point in this process the strategy we would unfold with you here today, the strategy that we're going to put in place to be able to accomplish this long vision of essentially leading or ending up with a peaceful transition in Cameroon. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to pause. And let me also say to everybody that is watching and everybody that is invested in Project C, we are not a partisan organization. We are not a political group. We are essentially a civil society organization, citizens with a desire to ensure that we have a peaceful transition and put our country on a path to prosperity. It is incredibly important for everyone to understand that we don't have all the answers, but what we have is the facts on our side, law on our side, and the Cameroonian people that are willing to see change happen in Cameroon. We must never confuse the fact that, like you, like every other Cameroonian, frustrated as we may be, worried about what tomorrow, we all have those fears and concerns. We have no silver bullet. But what we know is that an inspired people, united in purpose, and I cannot overemphasize this, united in purpose, can accomplish whatever they set out to accomplish. This is what has brought us here, and this is what is going to take us across the finish line. Will we have shortcomings? Absolutely. We'll see that every day. This is not a perfect terrain movement. It would have shortcomings. But are there answers out there that you or any one of us can provide? Absolutely. If we collaborate, if we work together, we can achieve together. So let us not let daylight, let us not let cracks in the dam come between us and the common vision that we have in order to accomplish the goals that we have. Let us never be distracted by the challenges that will stand in our way. But we must stay focused, never losing sight of where we want this movement to go. The end game is a peaceful transition in Cameroon. That's our goal, and that's what we want to accomplish. I'm going to pause. Herman would try to do a short summary here of what I said in French so that we engage a French-speaking audience, if that's fine with you, Herman. If not, I can make an attempt here.
Non, j'ai bien suivi. Harry rappelait à notre attention Project C, et c'est très important de le savoir, de le comprendre. Project C est un projet, comme son nom l'indique, focalisé sur... c'est une organisation et un projet non partisan, absolument non partisan. Donc, on ne parlera pas ici de FSNC, de RDPC, de MRC, de UNDP. On n'a vraiment rien à voir avec les partis, c'est la société civile et elle est focalisée sur l'objectif principal d'obtenir une transition de façon pacifique mais déterminée au Cameroun. Il est très important de garder cela à l'esprit, que l'objectif, malgré tous les vents contraires, et les vents contraires, on en a énormément. Les Camerounais se sont exprimés, ils ont clairement exprimé quelle est la direction qu'ils veulent prendre. Et l'objectif de la société civile, l'objectif d'un groupe comme le nôtre, c'est de se rassurer que la voix des Camerounais compte, que la voix de l'expression populaire compte, que la voix des urnes compte, et que quelles que soient toutes les méthodes d'intimidation, les méthodes de répression, les méthodes pour restreindre les libertés, il est capital de comprendre que les Camerounais absolument doivent rester focalisés sur l'objectif. Rien ne doit pouvoir les en détourner. Pas de corruption, pas de billets de 2000, pas de postes fantaisistes, pas de strapontins. Rien ne doit pouvoir détourner les Camerounais de cet objectif. Et c'est pour ça que Project C est à leur côté. Nous voulons que toutes les personnes qui se sont levées pour marcher pacifiquement, toutes les personnes qui ont perdu la vie, que cela soit gravé au fer rouge dans notre esprit, dans notre mentalité, et que nous partagions cela. Il y a encore des Camerounais qui semblent attentistes. Nous ne le disons pas parce que nous sommes particulièrement intelligents, particulièrement dotés. Nous le disons parce qu'on a un amour profond et indélébile. On a un amour inaliénable pour le Cameroun. Les Camerounais qui se sont levés pour marcher, personne ne leur avait indiqué la direction qu'ils allaient prendre. Ils se sont retrouvés ensemble. Je suis même presque celui qui ne se connaissait pas. D'ailleurs, leurs leaders sont emprisonnés. Mais ils l'ont fait. Et ça ne s'est pas fait dans une seule ville. Ça ne s'est pas fait dans 2 villes, ni dans 5 villes, ni dans une seule région. On a pu le voir à Douala, on a pu le voir à Maroua, on a pu le voir à Garoua, on a pu le voir à Bafoussam, on a pu le voir à Bertoua, on a pu le voir à Bafan, à Tchan. Ce genre de manifestation spontanée ne se pilote pas. Ce genre de manifestation spontanée ne se télécommande pas. Ça veut dire qu'il y a une aspiration comme on en a rarement vu au Cameroun. On l'a presque jamais vu, peut-être dans les années 92, un peu en 2018, mais jamais à ce niveau. Et Project C voudrait s'associer à toutes les autres organisations, voudrait s'associer à la société civile, voudrait s'associer aux Camerounais pour dire on ne peut pas continuer à ignorer un tel peuple. On ne peut pas, c'est impossible. Et il faudrait que tous les Camerounais de la diaspora, vraiment, j'ai fait un clin d'œil à ceux de la diaspora qui se sont connectés pour leur dire que vous avez une voix qui porte. Vous avez des ressources qui portent. Vous avez des connexions et des liens qui portent. Et il ne s'agit pas seulement du Canada, des États-Unis, il y a l'Europe, il y a l'Afrique, il y a l'Asie, partout où les Camerounais se retrouvent, partout où on peut dire qu'il y a un Camerounais, ce message devrait arriver. Nous sommes à la croisée des chemins et certaines personnes au Cameroun ont choisi de tirer le pays à un niveau qu'on n'avait jamais ou rarement vu. Donc, il faudrait absolument qu'au troisième millénaire, à l'heure d'Internet, à l'heure où on a de la communication, qu'on ne se laisse pas arrêter par ça. Merci, c'est ce que je peux dire pour le moment, en attendant davantage d'informations de la part de Harry. Merci bien.
Merci beaucoup, Herman. Thank you for that resume there of where we are as an organization, and it's incredibly important that you spoke about just the sheer number of deaths that we've seen in the last week that have taken place, the amount of arrests that have taken place in the last week, the pain and suffering that has been inflicted on the Cameroonian people as a result of them rising up to demand or to hold this government accountable for subverting their will as expressed at the polling stations. We will stand with those people. We cannot forget the leaders that have been arrested, but all the people, young people that have been arrested in the process. Normally, if people are on the streets protesting, it is their right. Usually it is an intervening event that leads to conflicts, that eventually leads to destructions, and eventually leads to looting that takes place. So peaceful demonstrations is what it's universal. It is acknowledged as a universal process for the right of self-determination or popular legitimacy, which is the case in point here. Before we go on to talk a little bit about our strategy, I'm going to ask for our technical team to bring up as panelist Kawala, who is supposed to be one of our guests today, but I don't see her yet here. And I'm also being asked that we be on the lookout. I do not see Eric Chinje as yet as part of the. So I'll ask for some team members to help coordinate behind the scenes to make sure that we have Eric, or somebody can reach out to Eric and find out that so that we can move forward. Whilst we're waiting for the connection, Eric, and I'm going to, and I don't know whether I'll be able to also, Kinsley, if there's a way that you can give me the ability to share a presentation here, I would appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. But we have Maitre Kenya Fabienne here with us. And I would also ask for, that if you please continue to share the link so that we can have more people join us. I know that we are broadcasting this on several platforms, Mimi Mefo's YouTube page. So people may be watching us on YouTube. They may be watching us on Facebook. It's more than the people that you have here, but I want to make sure that we're not forgetting that audience. And we're going to have other people join us here momentarily. But I would just pause here and make sure that we can have Maitre Kenya. A lot of I mentioned a number of people that have lost their life as a result of the proclamation of results that were that really subverted the will of the people. We know that the the candidate, the president-elect, as widely understood, expressed and continues to do so even in private settings, his grave concern at just the sheer number of people that are losing their lives. And it's incredibly important for us as citizens of Cameroon and this movement to recognize and never lose sight of these people who have fallen on this journey for the building of a future for our country. We must never lose sight. And it's for them, and because of them, that this fight must go until the very end. That we cannot leave behind anybody in detention. That we have to ensure that we fight for their freedom, and that while and justice on all, and fight for justice for all those who have orchestrated this injustice against them. We have to stand with their families. We have to make sure that we honor their names in this process, and essentially and gather as much evidence that will be used against those who are perpetrating this action. And it's incredibly important for us to remind everyone that it's a perpetrator of these deaths, this bodily injuries, this arrest, that there will be a time for justice. And Bertre Kenye, Fabienne, has been very instrumental in collecting this information. Is working with other lawyers on the ground in Cameroon. And we were very grateful for the work that he and the team are doing in Cameroon. And we wanted to really begin this conversation by not forgetting those who have fallen, those who are in detention, but for him to just talk a little bit about the work that's being done. Now, Maître, si vous êtes à l'écoute, je pense qu'il faut partager avec nous comment vous êtes en train de collectionner les données de toutes les personnes qui ont été abattues et ceux qui sont détenus, comment vous êtes en train de gérer, quel est le nombre de personnes parce que le nombre, on n'est pas certain, mais c'est sûr que vous êtes en train d'essayer de collectionner tout ça. Donc, je vous passe la parole, Maître.
Okay, merci beaucoup de me passer la parole, surtout de l'honneur que vous m'avez fait, n'est-ce pas, de devoir me convier à cet échange. Je vous salue bien bas, et avant de vous répondre, je vous prie vraiment d'accepter que je m'incline d'abord premièrement sur la mémoire de nos compatriotes que nous avons perdus, que j'adresse mes encouragements et premier rétablissement à tous ceux de nos compatriotes qui ont été torturés de part et d'autre du territoire camerounais, comme vous l'avez vu. Et je voudrais encourager, n'est-ce pas, ceux qui continuent à exprimer leur volonté de voir la vérité sortie des urnes écloses. Je voudrais aussi tirer un coup de chapeau aux manifestants qui ont marché paisiblement, qui n'ont porté aucune atteinte à quelconque bien privé ou public. Je voudrais aussi remercier les manifestants qui, malgré la possibilité, la difficulté dans laquelle se trouvaient les agents des forces de maintien de l'ordre, n'ont pas attenté à quelque moment que ce soit à leur vie. Et cela va sans dire que je condamne, bien entendu, de la manière la plus ferme, n'est-ce pas, les tueries auxquelles nos compatriotes ont dû faire face. Vous me demandez de vous donner de vous faire des détails exhaustifs en ce qui concerne l'état des arrestations et des morts. Par rapport à ce que d'abord, même en tant que, il faut bien dire que j'ai accepté, comme je l'ai souvent fait, de faire partie du collectif des avocats qui sont chargés, n'est-ce pas, d'accompagner les Camerounais en difficulté, en porte-à-faux avec, qui sont en difficulté avec la justice camerounaise ou les forces de maintien de l'ordre, ou tout au moins ceux qui ont décidé d'accompagner nos compatriotes dans le processus, n'est-ce pas? Je ne voudrais pas dire de la tendance pour ne pas être partisan, comme vous l'avez dit, vous devez rester sur la ligne que vous avez tracée. En ce qui concerne la collecte des données, notre équipe que nous avons mise sur l'équipe d'avocats chargés de la défense, n'est-ce pas, de nos compatriotes qui sont ambassadés aujourd'hui, nous avons essayé, sous la coordination de Maître Ngueffan, il faut bien se le dire, bien que j'ai d'autres antennes à travers ou canaux à travers lesquels je travaille, nous avons essayé de scinder le travail par région. Par exemple, la région du Grand Nord, la région du centre, sud-est, la région de l'ouest, celle du littoral, pour pouvoir collecter les données. Je vais commencer par l'ouest où je parle, les premières arrestations ont eu lieu. À l'heure où je vous parle, nous avons environ près d'une quarantaine de nos compatriotes qui font l'objet de la mise en détention provisoire au tribunal, à la prison de Bafoussam, n'est-ce pas, mandat de détention provisoire émis ou rendu par un juge d'instruction militaire naturellement incompétent qui ne devrait de quelque manière que ce soit connaître d'un jugement des civils. À l'ouest, toujours au-delà de ces personnes, nous avons pratiquement autour de 25 personnes qui font l'objet d'une garde à vue administrative et qui ont été, je crois, déportées de Tchang ou de Sanchou pour Bafoussam. Donc, là-bas, il y a, sur le plan formel, nous avons pratiquement autour de 60 personnes qu'on peut visiblement identifier et qui sont entre les mains de la justice. En dehors de ces personnes, il y a eu plusieurs autres arrestations. Je voudrais citer par exemple le cas d'un responsable du parti MRC à Baham, la région natale du président du MRC qui a été arrêté et déporté. Il y aurait là-bas plus d'une vingtaine de personnes qui sont arrêtées nuitamment et qui sont déportées, on essaie. Donc, au niveau de la région de l'Ouest, si on a peut-être 60 à 110 personnes, on peut avoir la visibilité sur le plan judiciaire. Il y a autour de 30 autres personnes qui sont portées disparues. Si j'en viens dans la région du littoral où j'ai mon cabinet, il faut bien dire qu'il y a plus de 700 personnes qui seraient, n'est-ce pas, aux arrêts. Sur le plan judiciaire, j'ai à ma connaissance pratiquement, je pourrais dire, 200 personnes qui feraient l'objet de garde à vue administrative qui sont mis sous mandat de dépôt à la prison centrale de Douala, à la nouvelle prison qui venait d'être conçue de Goma. Au-delà de ces personnes, il y a plus d'une autre qui ont été arrêtées, je crois, depuis les 200 personnes dont je parle, ce sont les personnes qui ont été arrêtées avant que, je crois, le 27 octobre 2027. Après, il y aurait aussi plus d'une centaine de personnes
This meeting is being recorded.
C'est un phénomène assez particulier qu'il faut noter
Oui.
et qui me cœur beaucoup et me choque parce que autour de ces arrestations,
This meeting is being recorded.
que certains manifestants à main nue sont même allés jusqu'à être arrêtés par beaucoup de leurs compatriotes qui ont estimé qu'ils n'étaient pas dans leur zone géographique et les ont le contentieux post-électoral qui avait suivi les élections de 2018, j'ai appartenu au collectif sur le SOP. Donc, nous avons des méthodes de travail qui, n'est-ce pas, qui nous permettent. De cette expérience-là, même si le collectif ne peut pas mettre ça à notre disposition, moi qui est de bout en bout et jusqu'à présent, et fait encore par membre de ce collectif-là, nous avons des moyens, comme vous le dites, et rassurez-vous, n'est-ce pas, pour pouvoir atteindre les familles de tous les détenus, c'est-à-dire chercher des voies et moyens pour donner l'information au public, si c'est votre préoccupation, afin que personne ne puisse disparaître. J'ai entendu vous parler aussi de la documentation. Je crois que c'est le plus important. Parce que si, effectivement, les familles, beaucoup de familles sont aujourd'hui prises de peur, on regarde tout ce que vous avez vu. Parce que nous assistons presque, au-delà même des matchs, on a comme l'impression que le Cameroun est carrément en guerre, au point où beaucoup de personnes ont même peur de s'exprimer. Si on les encourage, elles les permettent aussi d'avoir de la voix, effectivement, ces personnes, beaucoup de personnes vont disparaître sans qu'on ne le sache. Donc, je l'admets, l'un de l'autre, le travail est effectivement de donner des informations, de permettre aux familles, n'est-ce pas, de s'exprimer. Quand bien nous aurons été ici, ou de chercher à coller le visage ou d'établir un lien entre les décédés ou bien les personnes qui sont en détention ou les personnes portées disparues, n'est-ce pas, d'attirer l'attention de l'opinion publique afin que, n'est-ce pas, leurs parents en soient informés. Si c'est ça votre préoccupation.
Oui, exactement, c'était ça.
Yeah, and another thing that we want to know, because just like, you know, when you have, I think, people who go to war, the military, and they come back, these are people who are dying for, you know, our country, for the freedom. And we at Project C, as Aray was asking how we can help, we need to really be mindful of some of these families who may be losing the breadwinner of the family and how they're supported. Without this kind of support and records of this, you know, it's a destabilization. And so that doesn't end with this. Even when this continues, we need to know how to support them, because so that's why it's so important, even as citizens of Cameroon right now, for people to be vigilant and, you know, to make sure that the pictures and the conversations, because we don't know who's going to disappear. So they just don't disappear. We can track who they are and maybe be able to support the family as a nation.
Je n'ai pas bien suivi ce que quelqu'un peut encore interpréter là.
Herman.
Oui, elle était en train d'insister sur le fait comment est-ce que Project C peut venir en soutien. Parce qu'il serait important pour les familles de prendre note qu'ils ont du soutien derrière. Donc, elle demandait en tant que Project C, lorsque nous vous contactons, lorsque nous discutons avec vous, comment est-ce que vous pensez que nous pouvons être d'un soutien à la cause que vous défendez? En termes vous avez déjà parlé de la documentation, vous avez parlé des photos. Il est important que les familles puissent percevoir le backup dont elles disposent au niveau, je ne veux pas dire international, parce que Project C, c'est Cameroun, c'est Amérique du Nord, c'est Europe, c'est partout. Mais elle voudrait surtout savoir comment est-ce que nous pouvons, voilà, vous venir en soutien.
Je dois vous avouer que, comme je disais tout à l'heure, que ça avait beaucoup d'honneur, n'est-ce pas, que vous m'avez fait de devoir intervenir ici. C'est déjà un premier travail, c'est-à-dire prendre à votre compte, n'est-ce pas, toute cette souffrance humaine, tout ce que vit le pays. Comment pourriez-vous nous venir en aide? Vous n'êtes pas sans une autre, quand ce qui concerne le collectif d'avocats, c'est un travail bénévole dans lequel on attend presque rien. Mais cela appelle naturellement des fonds énormes au regard du nombre de personnes, du nombre de procédures, de la quantité ou du nombre de procédures auxquelles on devra faire face. Comme je l'ai dit, naturellement, je reviendrai vers vous. Vous avez déjà, comment dire, l'un de nos responsables, en la personne de Maître Sim, que vous avez déjà dit avoir eu ici. Vous avez Maître à l'ISCOM. Il n'y a pas seulement cette organisation autour de Issa Tchiroma à laquelle j'appartiens. J'ai plus d'une autre organisation, n'est-ce pas, plus d'un autre pôle, n'est-ce pas, que j'ai mis sur pied pour pouvoir venir en aide à toutes ces personnes, que ce soit la famille des disparus, la famille des décédés, ou les personnes qui sont des disparus, comme je l'ai dit, les personnes qui sont entre les mains de la justice. Il faudra bien que nous évaluons ce qu'il y aura lieu de faire. Mais pour l'urgence, je puis dire que vous pouvez contacter Maître Sim. Je reviendrai vers vous, nous serons peut-être à la fin de l'émission, après que nous soyons concertés avec ce collectif d'avocats que nous avons mis en place pour mieux élaborer la manière par laquelle vous pouvez nous assister. Si telle est la préoccupation à laquelle vous voulez que je donne une réponse.
Oui, c'est ça, parce que on se rend compte que le nombre de morts risque d'être bien au-delà de ce qu'on redoute.
Il est même beaucoup au-delà, puisque je vous ai fait état des personnes des corps qu'on a transportés, qui ne sont pas, n'est-ce pas, connus. Et la difficulté pour les familles de s'exprimer, parce que beaucoup de gens s'étaient, malgré le fait que l'administration fait tout et tout pour que les gens sortent. On a encore pris, il y a beaucoup de personnes n'ont jamais vu les tenues Cabot aujourd'hui, n'est-ce pas, nos forces de défense. On a même vu des chars d'assaut. Peu sont les Camerounais qui ont vécu ça, dont la société camerounaise est véritablement traumatisée. Et il y a beaucoup même qui auraient même peur de dénoncer un être disparu, un être décédé, quand bien même ils en seraient informés. Vous imaginez. Donc, je suis d'accord avec vous que même les tueries peuvent aller au-delà au-delà du nombre de 60 que nous avons évoqué.
Merci bien.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Maître. Merci beaucoup pour tout le travail que vous êtes en train de faire sur le champ au Cameroun. J'allais dire champ de bataille. Nous ne sommes pas en guerre, mais toujours est-il qu'il paraît, vu le nombre de personnes le nombre de morts, de personnes qui sont arrêtées, mais nous serons disponibles. Project C sera disponible pour accompagner le collectif des avocats, mais aussi accompagner les familles endeuillées et aussi ceux qui sont en détention, dès que vous aurez une idée de comment on peut participer.
Merci déjà beaucoup d'avance. Ce n'est pas facile pour nous.
Oui, j'imagine, Maître. To everybody that is attending, I really want to ask for your support. It's incredibly important. You've heard what the state of the dead, the arrest, and even those who are injured. This calls for a moment of solidarity. Solidarity, especially for those of you in the diaspora, your contribution can make a significant difference in supporting the work that these lawyers are doing to help those who are being detained just for losing their lives and being detained just for expressing their desire that the will of the people spoke loud and clear, that will must be respected, and they're losing their lives for it. And it's in their honor, as I said, that we must continue this work, that we must not falter, we must not forget that they gave their lives, they gave their blood and sweat, so that tomorrow we can see a country that is free, that can have free and transparent elections and can see peaceful transition. So we will continue that work. We will come back to Maître as we have more questions that come in. On va revenir vous, Maître, plus tard dans l'émission pour partager avec nous les actions que vous êtes en train de mener, vous comptez mener dans les jours qui viennent, et éventuellement comment la diaspora peut jouer un rôle dans les actions qui seront menées dans les jours à venir.
Les urgences que nous avons aujourd'hui, je dois vous avouer que c'est bien, malgré les difficultés qu'il y a à se déplacer dans le territoire, il y en a plus d'un volontaire parmi nous, n'est-ce pas? Nous devons, dans un premier temps, nous rendre presque dans toutes les unités de police et de gendarmerie où se trouvent, n'est-ce pas, les personnes qui sont identifiées par la justice. Nous devons nous rendre dans toutes les personnes qui sont en garde à vue, autant pour moi. Nous devons aussi nous rendre sur toute l'étendue du territoire, partout où les Camerounais sont soit mis sous mandat de détention provisoire, soit en garde à vue administrative pour la période de 15 ans. Mais de 15 jours, autant pour moi. Mais pour les personnes qui sont l'urgence en ce qui nous concerne, d'abord, c'est rencontrer toutes ces personnes-là. Parce qu'il y en a beaucoup qui n'ont jamais même peut-être franchi le pas d'une brigade de gendarmerie ou de police. Vous imaginez dans quels états ces personnes se trouvent. Et il y en a qui ont été torturés, qui ont été atrocement torturés. Je ne sais pas si vous me suivez encore.
Oui.
Non, il y en a qui ont été atrocement torturés, comme vous avez dû le constater, et qui ont besoin de la présence de l'avocat pour qu'ils puissent, n'est-ce pas, se faire assister d'un médecin, pour qu'ils puissent, n'est-ce pas, les assister afin qu'ils soient entendus. Parce que la simple présence de l'avocat est une garantie extraordinaire pour une personne qui est entre les mains de la justice. Lorsque ces personnes sont entendues en dehors de la justice, elles déclarent du n'importe quoi. Je l'ai conseillé même, et je l'ai souvent dit, c'est vrai que nous n'avons pas encore publié, que lorsque vous êtes arrêté et que vous n'avez pas encore un avocat autour de vous, vous n'avez rien à dire. Donc la première des choses qui nous concerne, c'est rencontrer ces personnes, leur prodiguer des conseils, leur demander, n'est-ce pas, leur indiquer leur droit de se faire assister d'un avocat, leur indiquer leur droit d'avoir les soins médicaux, n'est-ce pas? Donc, ceux qui les ont mis là où ils sont seraient responsables. Pour celles des personnes, bon, là, c'est pas pour entrer dans le fond. Pour celles des personnes dont les témoignages nous font savoir qu'elles n'auraient commis ou qu'elles n'ont commis aucun crime, aucune infraction, et qu'elles ont été arrêtées habituellement, l'urgence. Nous avons au Cameroun, partout sur l'étendue du territoire, un juge plus puissant que le président de la République, qu'on appelle le juge de l'habeas corpus. L'habeas corpus, soit, ça c'est une expression anglo-saxonne, on a traduit ça en français par « sois libre de ton corps ». Donc ce juge-là, il est tellement puissant que lorsqu'une personne est arrêtée ou en garde à vue ou mise sous mandat de détention, le juge est chargé de vérifier la régularité, n'est-ce pas, de sa détention, la légalité de sa détention, en sorte que si la loi était enfreinte ou si les conditions de l'arrestation, la garde à vue ou de la mise sous mandat de dépôt, ou s'il y a l'incompétence du juge entre les mains de qui il se trouve, en violation de la loi, ces personnes doivent être automatiquement mises immédiatement en liberté. C'est dans les actions que nous allons engager dans les tout prochains jours. Et voyez-vous, ce qui, je ne voudrais pas dire que ça nous effraie, parce que comme je vous l'ai dit, j'ai l'expérience de ce type d'affaires depuis, ayant travaillé avec le collectif souverain, malgré le nombre, nous allons nous déployer et nous avons suffisamment de volonté parce que si un avocat, moi je l'ai dit, je suis en train d'interpeller mon barreau, si un avocat ne se meurt pas, ne se lève pas aujourd'hui au Cameroun pour porter assistance, n'est-ce pas, à ces personnes-là, je crois, surtout les personnes qui ont marché à main nue, je crois que cet avocat-là aura raté sa vocation. C'est davantage, vous dites que nous allons sensibiliser aussi beaucoup plus d'avocats, peut-être qui ne sont pas aussi informés. Il y en a beaucoup qui ne sont pas aussi informés en tant qu'avocats, ou même qui ne peuvent pas maîtriser la procédure. Nous allons aussi les sensibiliser, eu égard au volume du travail, pour qu'ils puissent nous assister. Toujours, est-ce que les actions urgentes, c'est ce dont je voulais tantôt de vous faire, ce sont celles dont je voulais tantôt de vous faire état.
Merci beaucoup, Maître, pour ça. Thank you very much for giving us that update. And to your point, we call on every lawyer, we call on the Cameroon Bar Council to play a significant role in this moment. It's a crucial moment.
En tant qu'organisation civile, nous sommes interpellés au barreau du Cameroun.
Ah oui, on a déjà
nous
fait.
On
est déjà rentré en contact avec le président du barreau du Cameroun. Le bâtonnier.
Ça me rassure.
Oui, c'est justement, vous avez vu ils ont fait une publication dernièrement.
Encore que ce que nous faisons, c'est le sacerdoce, nous gagnons rien là-dedans. Il faut avoir beaucoup plus de. Il faut être l'avocat de la veuve, de l'orphelin, n'est-ce pas, pour s'y engouffrer, parce que ça ne
Oui.
rapporte rien et ça prend énormément de temps. Ça fait 7 ans que je suis là-dedans.
Oui. Merci beaucoup. That's comment on dit en anglais, noble cause.
Une noble cause noble.
Noble. Et
Tout à fait.
chacun doit être impliqué, concerné et participer.
Absolument.
Merci beaucoup pour le travail que tu as fait. Merci beaucoup, maître. Et si on a d'autres questions, on va revenir sur toi. Mais maintenant, I saw that Eric joined us. And Eric, I wanted to, I've been waiting for you to come on so we can turn this over to you. Just to give a statement on the state of not only Project C, but the state of the evolution of things in Cameroon and maybe even across the world. And then after that, I really want to spend some time after that sharing with our audience what our strategy is going to look like in the next few weeks, I know many people have those questions, many people are asking. So what is Project C going to do? We're going to be very transparent. We're going to put it out, and then we're going to ask you to participate in its implementation.
And
Ellie,
in the
did you want to?
meantime, yes,
Okay.
I just want to jump in before Eric goes in. I just want to say that, we want to really drive funds, and we just want to say that we're sorry for security purposes. And because of what happened last week in terms of the Zoom, we chose, just so for transparency, we switched over to a webinar. And so there've been certain discrepancies. So we really want to appreciate everybody's patience. We are going to be posting all the links so you can send them to friends and family to be able to join, because we're currently on about 4 platforms right now. So if you do not already have access, we're going to be putting the links on. The second thing I want to mention to money, CHRI will donate $5,000 advocacy towards advocacy, education, and humanitarian support. And so the money is coming in. I want to say that if ever there's a time that we are to be raising funds, it is now. So I really want to appeal to everyone listening right here on Zoom and through all the different places that you're connecting to this platform, is that the number one drive above everything with the crisis that our country is experiencing now, because literally the government that has been in power for 43 years is turned against its own citizens. It is just to be stated. And so we should not eat freely in the Western world. And I say this, if we are not knowing that other children, other parents who are going about life cannot continue, we have to contribute, because above all discussions we're going to have, we need money. We need money, and that's the reason why we were able to have an election where we as a people could see our impact. We could be one. We could fight together, was because we were giving donations, because we were able to set up Project C has been able to do so much, and it's because of your money. We thank you so much. If you've been giving, we ask that you give again. If you've never given, we want you to give now. We only do not want you to give. We want you to give, and like a friend of mine did, she not only gave, but she asked 5 other people to give. So the question is, are you planning to set this up so you can give every week? Are you just going to start right now? So while this is going on, I am appealing to you. We are going to be putting this link below where you can donate, because above everything, it is what we're needing right now for the attorneys. We've heard Maitre Fabian and what he's doing. He cannot sit here because they need the support. The families who are being killed, the breadwinners of this family who are on the ground fighting for us, and they need to be supported. We have support all around. So we're asking you and we're pleading, find it within yourself, not just to be regular, but to stretch and do more. Because if ever there's a time, it is this time in our country that we can all join as one and be able to make a difference. Please make no mistake that your money, it will matter. This is not a time we can shrug and say, well, how do I know? No, we do know. We do know because we have a vision. We do know because we have been on here. We do know because our country has never been in this place, and we cannot deal with doubt now. Let's fight the fight with all our hearts, knowing what we can do. And so every dollar is fighting. Every dollar is moving people forward. So thank you so much. And Ari, I'm going to have you pass it on to Eric.
Merci beaucoup, Elisabeth. Je me permets de prendre un peu la parole pour répéter ça en français parce que ce que Elisabeth dit est fondamental. Si Maître Kenyé a été invité ici, si on fait l'effort de discuter et de comptabiliser avec des preuves toutes les personnes blessées, toutes les personnes décédées, s'il y a des personnes comme Maître Kenyé qui se déplacent de ville en ville pour comptabiliser tous ceux qui ont été abattus, tous ceux qui ont disparu, ça demande quand même un certain soutien, une certaine solidarité. Donc, on supplie, on prie vraiment que tous ceux qui nous écoutent, c'est pas simplement pour vous que vous le faites, c'est pour les familles. On aimerait que les familles sachent qu'il y a des Camerounais qui sont blessés, qui sont affectés autant qu'elles ne sont pas des membres qu'elles ont perdus. Donc, si on a du soutien, $5, $10, $50, on a écouté tout à l'heure jusqu'à un don de $5,000, ça, ce sont des preuves tangibles de notre engagement. Si on ne peut pas accompagner des personnes manifester pacifiquement, comme elles ont eu le courage de faire, on peut leur montrer qu'on est en soutien. On ne veut pas que les familles soient en train d'enterrer elles-mêmes leurs morts alors qu'elles défendent la cause de tout le monde, de la nation. Si des gens ont été blessés à l'hôpital, il ne faut pas qu'ils aient l'impression que voilà, j'ai fait ceci et maintenant c'est moi qui paye. Et vous avez vu, le régime a été tellement cynique qu'il a même écrit que toutes les charges, etc., seraient portées par les personnes arrêtées, ce qui est totalement en contradiction avec la loi. Donc nous voudrons que les personnes, les Camerounais, tous ceux qui écoutent, qu'elles ne contribuent pas seulement, mais qu'elles partagent avec 5-10 personnes. On voudrait que ce soit un élan de solidarité globale qui soit mobilisé pour les personnes, les avocats, les déplacements, qu'ils ne prennent pas ça sur eux. On voudrait vraiment que ce soit les Camerounais qui se sentent tous concernés. Donc, le lien a été posté dans la plage des questions. Il y a des questions qui remontent aussi. On va revenir dessus avec la permission de Harry. Il y en a qui posent des questions sur la légitime défense, d'autres qui en posent sur la crise anglophone, etc. Mais nous voulons revenir sur ce que Elisabeth a dit. La raison pour laquelle Maître Kenyé est là, c'est qu'il se sente lui aussi encouragé et que tous ceux qui travaillent avec lui se sentent encouragés. Et la meilleure façon de leur montrer notre solidarité, c'est de contribuer pour qu'ils puissent continuer à documenter, à renvoyer l'information fiable. On ne veut pas juste que ce soit des choses qui soient envoyées, mais que des personnes, des experts comme eux qui ont pris sur eux de le faire de façon bénévole se rendent compte que leur bénévolat a été valorisé par des personnes qui les écoutaient. Donc, merci. C'est juste ça que je voulais résumer un peu pour nous.
Donc, déjà, nous sommes très, très reconnaissants pour l'initiative. Et permettez-moi, je vais vous raconter une anecdote. J'ai failli oublier cette réunion à laquelle je participe parce que dans l'intervalle, j'étais en train de travailler sur un dossier que j'estime que je voudrais que ce soit un dossier témoin, puisqu'il faudra toujours commencer quelque part. Vous imaginez un enfant qui sort qui est malade, qui sort de sa maison pour aller chercher le médicament chez son traitant. Au retour, il a été happé, torturé. À la fin de l'émission, je vous enverrai les séquelles, vous verrez ça sur lui. Il est aujourd'hui, après ça, on l'a torturé à la police judiciaire, on l'a amené à la prison centrale de New Bell. De là-bas, on l'a transféré à la prison centrale de Goma à Douala. Alors, et surtout que cet enfant est malade, il n'allait pas prendre que ses médicaments. C'est sa mère qui m'a appelé tout en pleurs. Elle m'a envoyé, n'est-ce pas, j'ai demandé qu'elle me donne les extraits de son carnet et tout et tout. Vous imaginez qu'il y a un foutu. C'est des cas comme ça. Parfois, au-delà même du travail que nous faisons, nous en prenons je ne sais pas, nous en prenons des chocs émotionnels extraordinaires. Donc, quand vous m'appelez là, j'étais sur le dossier de ce garçon pour naturellement commencer quelque part pour le compte du collectif. Donc, notre travail est énorme. Et soyez-en sûrs, moi, j'ai pu le garantir déjà, vous ne serez pas déçus. Il suffira, peut-être que beaucoup d'entre vous ne me connaissent pas, mais je suis sûr que la diaspora camerounaise me connaît au moins à 60%, même 65%, bien que j'ai dit qu'on ne me connaisse pas, parce que depuis 7 ans, je ne laisse nulle part où, n'est-ce pas, la liberté est en danger sans me mixer là, quoi que ça me coûte. Donc, nous allons nous galvaniser, je vais galvaniser le groupe pour que le travail que vous faites ou bien l'apport que vous allez nous apporter ne soit pas vain, Et je termine sur ce point, sincèrement, vous disant que je suis extrêmement surpris de cette élan de cœur et de l'initiative que vous avez bien prise.
D'accord, super.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn this to Eric, but I also want to say to the audience that we also have an anonymous. Last week we had an anonymous donor that offered to match every donation, and we had $4,000 last Saturday. This week, the anonymous donor is going to match up to $5,000 of any amount of money that we raise today. So let's make this $10,000. Let's contribute. Every dollar that is contributed today is going to be matched right up to $5,000. So can we get $10,000 before the end of today? Wherever you're watching from, we put the payment links on the chat there. We can get creative, reach out to anyone on the team. We will work with you to make sure that we can get the support in all ways possible. I know that there's some of you on the ground in Cameroon that are leading the charge. We thank you for doing that. I will figure out ways in which we can be of support. But for today, at this moment, we're really trying to figure out how we can be helpful to the collective des avocats that is supporting people on the ground. So, Maître, merci beaucoup. On est de tout cœur avec vous.
Merci beaucoup, c'est moi qui vous remercie.
J'allais dire cher confrère, parce que je suis aussi avocat
enchanté, confrère.
au Cameroun.
À la fin, nous changeons d'adresse.
Oui,
Content de le savoir.
Oui, effectivement. Let me turn this over to Eric. And then after Eric, we would then talk a little bit. I really want to share the strategy document with everybody so that everybody knows how we're going to be moving forward, and everyone can participate. So Eric, if you can, somebody can unmute Eric.
I don't know if you can hear me. I've unmuted.
Yes, please.
I'm not sure I don't know whether this is do we have the same numbers we're used to having? Because I've been lost. I've been trying to get in for the last half hour since 3 o'clock. I don't know. I can't hear Elizabeth.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, I really apologize for the inconvenience, but yeah, we had switched because of security measures from last week, and we switched to a link on webinar. So you actually were in, but we had to bring you in. So we've had a lot of discrepancies, but I'm glad that we were able to bring you in.
Okay, and our folks, do we have similar numbers to previous week?
Yes, we've been able to make some changes. So just so we are sending the links. We're in 4 different places. Kingsley is going to be sending that. I know we already have more than 1,000 people. I know I've heard from Mimi through Kingsley. So we're everywhere. But if you're on here now, please send the links to other people. They can get on here. This is the only way they can. Otherwise, we prefer them getting on the other links. But everybody should be able to get on now because we've been able to make some changes in the background. So thank you.
Elizabeth, please, can you send again the link? I'm trying, but I'm not able. I don't know why. Some people are asking for the link in the comment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will do that
Yes,
right now.
I see the challenge. I have been posting the link, but it's only going to the hosts and panelists. So
Yes.
Elizabeth, somebody must have the access to everyone that can do it.
Okay, I'm going to copy the link now and send it out. And then Judith, it should help. Judith, I'm sending you the link. I made some changes, and let me know if it works. We're going to test it out. We just thank everyone for their patience.
Some people are talking about Momo. Some people are talking about Momo and Orange Money and mobile money in Cameroon. Yeah. Some people are interested to use that.
Yes, please. People who are in Cameroon, for security reasons, we're not collecting money in Cameroon. Right. But if you are part of the Project C group, please contact one of the administrators and we'll figure out how to collect money in Cameroon. Again, this is really for security reasons, your own security and the security of the people that we're working on the ground with in Cameroon. So please, if you can understand that, we will work with you to do that. But for now, we're not going to disclose how it's going to be happening in Cameroon.
Oui, c'est important. Arrête, laisse-moi un peu préciser ça. Vraiment, pour ceux qui sont au Cameroun, vous n'imaginez pas à quel point ce projet est combattu. Pour votre propre sécurité, nous ne voulons pas exposer des numéros de téléphone du Cameroun. Nous, si vous voulez vraiment contribuer, vous pouvez joindre la plateforme WhatsApp, contacter un administrateur et nous allons vous donner le moyen de le faire. Mais on ne veut pas exposer les numéros des personnes. On a déjà beaucoup de cas sous la main, on ne veut pas en ajouter encore. Pour l'étranger, pour le moment, on partage le lien pour l'étranger. Pour ceux du Cameroun, c'est bien de contacter sur la plateforme WhatsApp.
Okay. Great. And now, whilst we're waiting for Eric to come on with these technical issues, I think Eric...
I don't know what I'm on. I can't see myself. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Eric, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, good.
Now, I will just have them turn on your video.
Eric, can you try to see if you can turn on your video?
I don't see any video sign here. I do good to know. It only allows me to do the audio. Yeah, there's nothing here.
Okay. So somebody must go to in promoting him as a panelist, should be able to do that. I don't have access to that.
But you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
And everybody else can.
Ari, I think you have access now. Try.
Okay, now I do.
Yeah,
okay.
but yeah.
And also, you can allow us to post, because I wanted to post the link, but I cannot write. I cannot send message.
Oh my.
Okay. Eli, please send the link again. Send the link again for the paper.
Eric, please, if you can just go on whilst we're trying to figure out your video.
Okay.
Yes, because
if you all can hear me, that's fine. I mean, that's what's most important. I'd have really like to have a sense of who's here, who's not. Anyway, so do I take it from the beginning, or do I, I was in and out when I was trying to get in. I'm not sure what has been covered.
Eric, are you able to slide your phone through? And if you're sliding your phone through, do you just see your name?
I don't even see my name.
What do you see on the screen right now?
No, right now I see the icon for the phone, and then for raised hands, the chat, Q&A, captions, and then under more, all I can have is disconnect audio. That's it, and then leave. But if everyone can hear me, I mean, I can try to speak, but I feel like speaking to the two of you, and you all know everything that I have in my head.
Because the video is not blocked, but I know that the reason you're having that is because we're through webinar. So it's probably a different configuration in your phone. I'm not for sure, but maybe in the background.
I'm using my iPad.
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
Oh, it could be.
Most definitely.
That could be.
I tried the phone. It was the same thing, though.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tried the phone.
On the webinar, it will be different on a computer. And if anyone who is listening knows what's happening on your Project C forum and you feel that we can solve it, please just text on there so we can contact you and fix it. But in the meantime, Eric, we apologize. I think that the best thing to do is for you to just carry on. We're all very attentive and can hear you.
Well, Eric, just if you to know where to pick up from, we started out really just listening to Maître Fabien Kenye talk about
Peut-être qu'en appuyant
the.
sur l'écran, il peut apparaître, hein, parce que je vois qu'il apparaît en fond sonore, on ne voit pas. Peut-être qu'en appuyant sur l'écran, il peut voir l'image de l'appareil vidéo et appuyer dessus. C'est comme ça que j'ai procédé. Je ne sais pas si c'est la même chose.
Pardon?
Peut-être qu'en appuyant sur l'écran, je ne sais pas si c'est un smartphone ou c'est un ordinateur.
Non, je suis sur mon ordinateur.
Ah, ok, là, c'est autre chose.
Mm-hmm. Je vais essayer le téléphone aussi à côté.
Whilst we're doing it, there's Zuzu in the chat. I would just Zuzu, please. I see that you have a lot of questions. We're going to paste the link to join the WhatsApp group, but we cannot take all the questions that you're asking at this time. But we will put you in a WhatsApp group and we'll connect with you to respond to the many questions that you have. Zuzu, please. Can you? Okay. So I think we with this challenge that we're facing, I'm not sure how we resolve that. But Eric, I was just saying that we spent time really just talking with Maître about what the state of the number of people who have died, the arrest and injured, and the work that they are doing to be able to support them. But we wanted you to just give us a state of the organization, Project C. I know people have many questions about what is the next phase of, what are we doing now that the proclamation has taken place? Because in our last Saturday conversation, that was prior to the proclamation. Now with the proclamation, what are the next steps? And I was saying, after your introduction, I'm going to go ahead and just give them the broad strokes of the strategy that we promised to present today in this meeting.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Sorry, I'm lost. But greetings to Maître Kenye. Bonjour, Maître.
Bonjour, cher merci.
Et merci d'être là.
Merci. À qui ai-je l'honneur, s'il vous plaît?
Mais voilà donc.
Ah, le doyen Eric Tchiroma. Quel plaisir
ouais, c'est Eric,
de vous avoir. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Elizabeth is saying something. I see, but nobody can hear her because her phone is muted. Is she? She's not talking.
She's not talking to us.
Eric, I just wanted to tell you that just so you know, Kingsley confirmed with me that he's watching on the different links on YouTube. Everybody can hear you very clearly. So, we're just waiting for you. Yes, you're good to go. The problem is really coming from the end because we're on a webinar, not the regular way, and you're on the main screen as a panelist, but it has to come from you to get into camera. And I don't know that we're good right now. We don't need to figure that out. If you just go on and speak, we can hear you all across board, everywhere where people are listening. We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We've entered, as Ray and Elizabeth must have told you, we've entered a different phase of what's going on, both in the country with the developments of the last few months, and with what we as an organization, Project C, are planning to do. We're entering this new phase, and it's important. It's a phase that would require all hands on deck, I think. All of us would have to figure out how we add value, how we get involved, and everybody has a role to play. I hope that has been raised and talked about. And it's important if you want to figure out what you can do besides, I know that Elizabeth has said this enough about the funding, but there are lots of other things we can all do. And I hope that people can reach out. We will try to reach out as much as possible to everyone we think can do something. We've got, Ari will talk about it when he discusses the strategy, but we've got a range of things at the diplomatic front where every member of the diaspora can chip in. I'm not talking about simply, the money. I'm talking also about your support, your efforts, your outreach. So there's a role for everyone. We're going to need it badly in the coming days. We have we're also looking at issues on the economic front that may not come out of the strategy at this point, but maybe it will. But we've got things that have to be done, economically. That is very much a part of one of the instruments that we have, and we must use. We're also looking at, very specific diaspora action, which of course we'll communicate with you. But all of this to ensure that the one thing we all desire, which is change, can come to Cameroon. The one thing. This is not about any single person. People may think, Tchiroma so badly wants to be president that, and then everybody who's with him is, trying to position himself to be the president. I really want to make it very clear. One, I'm not even personally, I'm not interested in anything. I don't even know how much time I have on earth. So I just want to give the best I can so that I can respond when I go to the other side, that I did what I could for Cameroon. That's what it is. I talked to Mr. Tchiroma last night, and he was out of his depth with regard to what is going on. He feels a very personal responsibility for the deaths. Very personal. I've never known him to be that hurt, that emotional, that literally devastated by what he's hearing. So let's, this guy, he can't even understand why it came to him. He went into the venture to be president because he realized that Cameroon was no longer being governed by Mr. Biya. He realized it. He was in the government, and he knew it. He knew that Mr. Biya is no longer in charge. And ladies and gentlemen, please let's understand that. Mr. Paul Biya is no longer in charge of Cameroon. He will not be. He's not shown up since we saw him go to vote. After all the efforts that were made to help him to get him to a position where he could cast a ballot. We've not seen or heard from him since. We will not see or hear from him until maybe they package him enough to go and say, I so do swear to be for another mandate. And then he'll probably disappear until maybe the next 7 years. And if these fellows get away with it, and I want to say this in all honesty, and I'm going to say it everywhere I can and whenever I can, if Gongo and Chantal Biya and the rest of them get away with it this time around, why does anybody think they'll act any differently in 7 years? If they can deceive 30 million Cameroonians to allow them to run the country as they've run it in the last 7, if they can deceive the entire world, all these international organizations who know the truth, how can we allow a country to be built on a pack of lies? That pack of lies will not It cannot sustain a country. So if we don't stop it now, these fellows will be in power for as long as we know it, because they mastered, after they got rid of, look at what is happening. When they got rid of Frundi in 1992, sorry. When they got rid of Frundi, what happened? They forced him into his house in Tarikun. They put soldiers around him, and nobody, movement in and out was restricted. And Frundi eventually realized he was under house arrest. In the case of Kamto in 2018, they applied that same rule. They surrounded his house, and by the time he realized he was under house arrest, they picked him up and thrown him in jail. And they were going to apply the same rule, same playbook, in the case of Tchiroma. Our colleague, our friend, Franklin Biya, who's up in Garwa monitoring all of this, has reported it. The ring of troops. Initially, there were police and gendarmes, and more lately, the military. They surrounded him, the house where he was. I think it's common knowledge now that he's no longer there. I hope those fellows have left because they're wasting their time. Tchiroma is in a safe place, and maybe this is the opportunity for me to say that to everybody. He is in a safe place, and they will not get him. They will not get him because that's not part of God's plan. Tchiroma is the legitimate president-elect of Cameroon. If anybody thinks differently, then, well, give your, go out and express your support for this regime. That I have, I don't care about them. I have nothing against anybody that they're living their lives. They have access to power, and they're going to keep it by any means. But should the rest of us accept that? That's the question. Should the rest of us accept that the resources from petrol in Cameroon are literally controlled by Chantal Biya and Miss Mudiki? Should we accept that two women will decide where the oil money goes? And then they determine who is a member of the board of directors, and who gets in, who gets out, and who's acceptable and who's not. And this is what we are talking about. If anybody thinks the control of Cameroon's oil, SNH, is in the hands of anybody else but those two women I've mentioned, let them come out and say it. Tell the world that Eric Chinje lied, and prove it. And I know I'm not lying, because the two of them are in charge of the oil money, and Chantal's son is in charge of Tradex, which is, the supply arm, if you like, of SNH, and so on. We cannot run Cameroon this way. I don't want to mention those ministers who have shares in virtually every mining industry, the mines in Cameroon that are being exploited. The first thing they ask for is their share. And then those coming in to exploit the mines, of course, take out 10 times what they declared as part of the deal. That too is true. And if Mr. Ngongo or Mutaze or any of them wants to challenge me on this, let them do so. I'll tell you what we know. We know that the amount of gold extracted from Cameroon and declared in the capital markets where we see them is far more than what is reported in Cameroon and gets into the budget. That's why we can't build roads. That's why we can't do anything. We can't build schools, hospitals. I want to challenge those people who supported Mr. Biya. They've inaugurated a range of projects. They've inaugurated a range of projects. I want to challenge them. Give us a timetable for the implementation of those projects. You know why? There'll be nothing, because they have no money. The country is broke. The country had to go and go to the capital market, sell government bonds, raise money that was used to produce gadgets for this election. Gadgets. And the gadgets were made in China. They could have been made in Cameroon. We could have allowed the Chinese to come and put their factories, and they will be producing gadgets that we can even sell to other countries. No, they didn't do that. They went and bought the gadgets in China, and they came in shiploads. If any one of us is not sick, understanding how Cameroon is being governed today, then maybe you have to question your sense of patriotism. Ladies and gentlemen, I came to Dakar on Monday. That's where I'm speaking from. It was the first time in 5 years that I traveled to Senegal, because I have not been here since COVID. What has happened, for those who know Dakar, what has happened in 5 years in terms of urban development, we've not been able to do in Douala, Yaoundé in 40 years and more. I was blown away by the urban transport. Now includes a rail metro system in Dakar. It wasn't here when I was here 5 years ago. The roads have been expanded, improved upon. There are highways, there are byways, there are overpasses, underpasses across the town, lit, lights everywhere. That's Dakar for you. Where did they get the money from? Senegal doesn't have a tenth of the natural wealth of Cameroon, not even a hundredth of the natural wealth of Cameroon. I used to be at the World Bank and the African Development Bank, and we know that they have the statistics. Go on Google and find out, you'll see all of this. So we're not exaggerating anything. How can a country 10 times poorer than Cameroon be so obvious in its development, policies and the implementation of those policies and the transformation of life and of society in those countries in a way that Cameroon cannot? I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong with who we are as a people, or we're just willing to accept any trash, any la gabegie, as they say in French, to just go along. I don't want to accept that as a Cameroonian. So let's get, I don't know, we should, something needs to be done to help us, rebuild our country and bring the right people into the right places to do the right things. I'm sorry about, taking up so much time on this. I'm open. I want to stop here and just, maybe rethink what I'm saying based on questions that some of us may have. But I don't know, maybe I'm off target here, but
no, I think, Eric, it's pertinent that the things that you have said. One or two questions that I read from the audience whilst you were speaking. The first one was that, is Mr. Tchiroma safe? That's a question from the audience, from the chat group. That's one question. And then there is a second question, which has to do with critics saying that Mr. Tchiroma has not commented on the deaths and arrests, and which he's been very, very clear on his Facebook. But that's one of the questions from somebody in the audience. Which you mentioned his state of mind with reference to the deaths, but those are the two questions I picked up. One, is he safe? Two, what is he saying with reference to the deaths that are taking place?
Again, I haven't seen Mr. Tchiroma, but I finally talked to him last night, so I know exactly what his state of mind is, what his state of being is. He's in, as I said earlier, he's in a safe place, and thank God, that's not one of the problems that we're having to resolve. There are many problems that we have to resolve. So with regard to where, his safety, I can say with absolute certainty that he's in a good place, and he'll be there, I believe, until this whole the state of affairs clears up. That's it with regard to Mr. Tchiroma's safety. And as far as the deaths and arrests are concerned, I understand why people, why all of us would be concerned about what he says or does with regard to the deaths and arrests. Let me just say this, that as things were happening with the mass movements and the arrests and ultimately the deaths that were reported, let me say this. Two things were happening. One, Mr. Tchiroma was trying to get out into a place where he could be considered safe. Until a few days ago, until a couple of days ago, he was literally running for his life. He was in his house, and children and young people, Gen Z people, were trying to protect the house. And then a number of folks within the house were trying to protect him, they narrowed his safe area into nothing more than a room, because there were drones around his house, that heat-sensitive drones that were looking for people and would have shot had they seen him. So even in his house, he was very much a prisoner. Now, eventually, about 3 or 4 days ago, he finds a way to leave his house and go into hiding where he is right now. Or going hiding, maybe is a way of putting it. He went into a safer location than his house. So he's out of there now. And it is only a couple of days ago that, this is Saturday. I think Mr. Tchiroma today's Saturday. It's only around Wednesday, I believe, that he felt comfortable enough to reach out and make the speech, some of the speech he made and some of the statements he's made since Tuesday or Wednesday. And then ever since then, his preoccupation has been his security, but also statements of condolences that he has sent out to some of the bereaved families. And I can tell you, for having spoken to him last night, that Mr. Tchiroma is suffering from the weight of the problems that have led to the deaths of so many people. He feels a personal responsibility for this. I think he will just have to, as I was telling him yesterday, this is now a mental thing. He has to, it's in his mind. He has to try to find the right balance in his mind as, going forward. Yes, his actions may lead to street protests and deaths, but there's only so much you can take responsibility for. That's my way. That's what I was telling him last night. There's only so much he should take responsibility for. And the rest of us, it's a price we all have to pay for the freedom of our country. And we have to figure out how we take it in and how we process it individually and collectively. So my answer to the question on the deaths and the arrests is that Mr. Tchiroma has said what he can say, and he's very concerned by it all, and is constantly reaching out to find out if there was anything he could do. What should he speak out more? Should he not? So it's a very dynamic process, and we have to, as all of us as human beings, understand what is at stake here and why we're all trying to do the best we can. All of us trying to do the best we can under the circumstances. We will not be in this place if we had basic elections and the people who won actually won. They don't need to be fighting to let the world know that they won. They only need to be killing to reclaim their victory. So that's all part of the problem. But I guess that's the only way I can react to the two questions about the death and the arrests and Mr. Tchiroma's current situation.
Thank you, Eric, for that. And we'll get back to any questions that people have would reference there. Not everything can be said here. Let me just clarify that. I see some questions in the audience. Not everything can be shared. We would obviously share with you what we can share. We don't want to put anybody's life at risk. We've lost enough, and we also have to make sure that we protect the assets that we have. With that in mind, I'm just going to quickly jump, and Eric will come back to you after I complete this presentation and just let people know that we're entering this next phase of this campaign. I would quickly run through a presentation here if you all can see my screen. But this is our post-electoral strategy, and let me just say this to everyone. This process requires thoughtfulness. It requires for us to be level-headed, and it requires for us to not just think with our hearts and the pain that we feel and anger, but to really think about how we can collectively be level-headed in our response to changing circumstances, swiftly, resolutely, but deliberately ensure that we learn from what has happened in the past. We capitalize on the experiences that we've accumulated, and we take action that is resolutely going to move us towards the goal that we have. So this is a post-electoral strategy. This has nothing to do with the Tchiroma campaign or Tchiroma government implementation. Whatever that political strategy is completely different. This is how we, the civil society, are going to respond. And I just want to start first by really defining the vision that we have with reference to where we want to be. A sovereign Cameroon governed by and for its people, where the democratic will is respected, human rights upheld, and peaceful change sets the foundation for a national renewal. That's what we want to see. And our mission is how we're going to do it. To peacefully restore the will of the people stolen from them on October 27 in that proclamation, to restore the will of the Cameroonian people by leading a coordinated, nationwide and international effort for democratic transition, ensuring that power is transferred to the legitimately elected leadership that we all know, undisputed, is Issa Tchiroma. So from all indications, the current regime has lost legitimacy, and even accentuated by the fact that they proclaimed results based on lies, based on their own fabrication. And that in itself is why we must continue to stand on the side of truth and justice and continue the struggle or fight. Our overarching goal here in what we're trying to achieve is to achieve a peaceful transition of power. So that's what we are working on, Project C now, a peaceful transition of power to Cameroon's newly elected president, by isolating the current regime both domestically and internationally. And we will do that based on 3 pillars. 1, domestic isolation. Mobilize peaceful resistance across the country, including blockades, labor strikes, and everything that we know from nonviolent movements to ensure that there is a blockade. Target the disruption of supply lines to Yaoundé to diminish the regime's authority and popular support. Secondly, international isolation. Actively lobby, yes, I added it, the African Union, which has so far been going in the opposite direction to the will of the people of Cameroon. But the African Union, the United Nations, the European Union, and key embassies, and then push for the official repudiation of Biya's regime and recognition recognition of the new president. The third way in which we're going to make this happen is through strategic impact. So leverage nonviolent protest to an international pressure to force the regime into crisis, which some of it is already happening. And obviously there are examples around the world in ways in which we're going to be able to do this, but we will do this together. Now, to achieve this overarching objective, there are 10 ways in which we're going to be working with you, every one of us. The first one is a clear affirmation of the theft of the elections by this regime. Everybody knows that, but we have to publicly assert this in all ways possible, and we're putting together documentation and evidence that is going to continuously shine the light on the fact that the elections were stolen and the illegitimacy of this regime. Secondly, we're going to be championing the people as the supreme authority, as provided by the Constitution of Cameroon. Sovereignty rests with the people of Cameroon. And what is happening now is that the people are claiming their authority as the sovereign authority in our country. So we must continue to highlight that. We must continue to call for civil resistance. And we will be investing time and resources on civic education drives, on things that people can do to ensure that whatever the manifestations are, one, aligned to the Constitution, to the universal democratic principles, and the fact that they have the authority to do what they're doing. That education is incredibly important, and we're probably going to need the help of many people in the audience. Three, we cannot do this alone. This is not only Project C alone will not succeed, but we need a strategic coordination of the civil society. Some of this work has already begun, where we will build a national coalition of NGOs, unions, youth groups, labor groups to work together. And that coordination is what would lead to the kind of crisis that we want to create for the regime. Unity is our strength. I emphasized this at the beginning. We must be united in our efforts to achieve our common purpose. Fourth, we are working, obviously, we want to work, obviously, in close collaboration with the President-elect Tchiroma's team. That's why I emphasized at the beginning that we must synchronize efforts. There is a political agenda for the Tchiroma team, but our vision, our mission is to ensure that we have a peaceful transition in Cameroon. Next is effective communications. I know that in the last week there has been challenges in terms of communications, and people have been asking all these questions about what do we do next. It almost seemed for a moment there like we were losing momentum, and so we want to make sure that we will be providing daily updates. And even if nothing happens, even if there is nothing to share, we will make sure that we engage with you to know what the state of development is. But I crave everybody's patience in this process, because sometimes the preceding point was really aligning, making sure that there's an alignment with other stakeholders. So we have to do that instead of just jumping the gun. Is working together is the way that we're going to achieve our goals. And communicating effectively is one of the strategic objectives that we have. Storytelling, right? Evidence-based storytelling. There's reason why we started this conversation today with Metro Kenya, and we will be publishing shortly, or there is a publication of the people who have died, but we will be telling their stories in a way that is evidence-based and that is compelling, all with a goal to inspire this movement to continue on the ground, but also to draw international attention to what is happening, or again, as part of the overarching isolation of the regime. 7, coordinated nationwide peaceful protests and civil disobedience. This is coming. You all have heard that there will be a ghost town beginning on Monday to Wednesday. There will be a lot of developments that are going to be taking place in those 3 days, but subsequently as well. This would be coordinated so that we have maximum impact. And we're also going to be looking directly at how can we make this happen in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Earlier on in this session, we spoke about the victims, their families, and the prisoners. We want to make sure that we do not leave them behind, that because they have done this, we must not stop. We need to establish a relief and justice fund that is going to be providing support to them. But there's also other things, psychological support to the families that we sometimes forget in this process. And then working with the Collectif des Avocats, the Bar Council of Cameroon, and all other civil society organizations that can help in ensuring that everyone that is in detention is released. And we will not stop until that happens. 9 is our diplomatic and global media offensive. I want to say to many of you who have already supported in this initiative that your work has had tremendous impact, that we have seen a significant increase in the volume of international attention in the last week that has gone to the crisis in Cameroon. It is thanks to you and the work that you did sending out those letters, but we need to build a more robust communications team that will have more of this information out there. And 10 is mobilization of resources, which we spoke a little bit earlier. For us to be able to, we were able to mobilize Cameroon to participate in this campaign with a shoestring budget of about $25,000 before the campaign. We just hit our 40,000 mark. But we have in front of us a machine that is going to run short of money soon, though, but they're going to throw everything at us in the next few weeks. So we need to raise money. Just doing the simple math. I mean, with 2 million plus Cameroonians in the diaspora, with remittance of $400 million that goes to Cameroon every year, if we just had 10% of that, we should be able to raise 400,000. And I can tell you that with that, this regime goes down. We need to think creatively about how we can support this campaign at this moment. And so mobilizing resources is key. Finally, this is our last offer. So if anybody is here that is representing the regime, we will be offering to mediate a safe exit for Mr. Biya and his entourage. That's something that we put in a letter that we sent to President Biya just before the declaration of the results. We are clear that this is a public offer that we're making to ensure and to save our country from bloodshed, to save Cameroon from bloodshed. This is an offer that we're prepared to make as part of our post-electoral strategy. And I would just conclude that our goal here is to unify anybody, anywhere that is interested in working towards a peaceful transition. We're going to be inclusive, strategic, but we will never lose sight of the goals that we have. Our work that we do is rooted in what most of us know and believe, rooted in the mandate of the people who went out to vote on October 12th. We know that President Biya lost this election. We cannot stand for the lies that have been told in the past, because we know now we'll keep on fighting for justice, for the truth, and we ask for everyone's support. I'll conclude again that too often in Cameroon, we have lost momentum, we've lost our way, we've not achieved our goal because the powers that be have been able to separate us. I know we come to this from different backgrounds. We speak different language, we come from different ethnicities. We have maybe different desires. Our experiences in life has taken us down different paths. But we have one thing in common, that we have Cameroon at heart. For those of you born in Cameroon, or for those of you associated with Cameroon, that's incredibly important. And our objective is common. Everything else comes secondary at this moment. A common objective to stand united till the very end. And that very end is that we see a transition in Cameroon. If we are united, there is no government anywhere in the world that can resist its people. Yes, they would put tanks in the street. They would put, people will suffer. There's pain and suffering already. Shops closed, cost of living increasing, people dying, people detained. All of these things are happening. But the cost of what we have lost in 43 years and what we will lose in the next 7 years far outweighs what we are experiencing at the moment. So standing for truth and justice is how we move forward. And I hope that the strategy that we have presented to you gives you a sense of what we're working on. The details of each one of those steps will be revealed as time goes on. But we cannot reveal the operational aspects of this for obviously security reasons. I will just end. We are being transparent. And so anybody who is here, again, on behalf of the government, please take this message back that this is our strategy to isolate this government in such a way that it's unable to govern because it doesn't have the mandate and it's illegitimate in the eyes of the Cameroonian people and the world. Thank you very much. We'll take questions with reference to that. I was saying that because I saw Esther clapping in the audience. But we will be happy to take any questions that you have. And again, we'll ask for everyone's patience. We're in this together. We'll be moving. Sometimes we will fall short, no doubt. But just to be clear that this is how we're going to be moving forward step by step. So I'm going to pause here. I don't know whether there were any questions with reference to somebody is asking about the security measures in WhatsApp.
Measures on WhatsApp.
But I know that there are French-speaking people here, our compatriots who are French speaking. I don't know, Herman, if you want to talk about, this elaborate strategy, but the key here is that we essentially are going to be working to isolate the regime. There will be other tactical developments that cannot be shared publicly, but overall, that's the presentation that we have.
À votre permission, s'il vous plaît. Je
Oui,
voudrais
mais-
dire quelque chose.
Yeah.
Je dois vous avouer que je manquerais à un devoir certain si je ne disais pas merci au doyen Eric Chingé qui nous a fait revisiter l'histoire politique du Cameroun depuis pratiquement les années 90, en passant de Fundi, Kamto jusqu'à Issa Tchiroma aujourd'hui. Je crois qu'il nous a permis de comprendre beaucoup de choses et de nous rappeler que le patrimoine camerounais est confisqué entre les mains d'un gros souvenir d'à peine 10 personnes. Lorsque j'ai eu dit ça, avant que vous ne clôturiez, je ne voudrais pas que nous perdions de vue que, au-delà de recenser les morts et d'assister leurs familles, je crois que les morts ont plus besoin de justice que nous. Parce que ça fait très, très longtemps que des Camerounais meurent pour rien. On ne peut pas compter le nombre de morts que nous avons perdus à la faveur des crises électorales de 1990. On ne peut pas, de 1990-92, on ne peut pas compter le nombre de morts que nous avons eu, je crois, en 2018. Voilà 2025, qui est le clou. Nous en sommes pratiquement à près d'une centaine de morts et disparus. L'une de vos missions, ou l'une de nos missions pour ce qui nous concerne en tant que Camerounais, sera de rendre justice à ces Camerounais, que les responsabilités soient établies, que ces morts soient reconnus comme avoir été victimes, n'est-ce pas, de certaines personnes qui seront naturellement, qui devront payer pour ce qu'ils ont fait. C'est ce que je dirais à ajouter.
Merci beaucoup, Maître. Merci beaucoup, Maître. Oui.
Are,
Yeah.
please, can you have a look? Someone is complaining that the link is still not working. I'm not sure if Elizabeth can have a look. Oui, concernant la stratégie, donc, yeah.
Or the PayPal link. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it's not working, the PayPal, then we may just use Zelle for now. But another thing, not to waste any time, there's a way you can use Cash App. If you just contact one of the admins, there's been a lot of activity. So I think that was highlighted with PayPal, and we resolved it, and we're still having some issues. So we really appreciate it. Let me just take this opportunity to say that I want to thank everyone for their understanding. Our purpose here from the very beginning, as Are has stated, has been really to have, to have a just election, a fair election, and we have had that. And then, of course, now we need to make sure that we have the right president that has been elected. That has been the focus. And so we appreciate your understanding, because just so you know, it's all hands on deck. We are figuring how, security, technology, all of that is working, but we did not want those things to stop us. So today, obviously, we've had some situations and we are learning. There's a lot going on in the background. We are having some issues also in how to to move money in terms of, giving your donations on PayPal. I want to ask that we all be flexible. It will be sorted out. But I want to ask that we all be flexible. Let's not be distracted because those things are going to come up. Life is to happen. But that we will stay the course, and we would know that the vision here is that we can have the right president in our country, and that we can build our country so that it serves the people of our country. That is the focus. And I want to plead with everyone, let this not distract you from giving money because maybe you go to click on a button and it doesn't work. I ask you, if you are serious about giving the money, what is the next thing you're going to do? Because if there's construction, then there's always a detour. So the detour will be to Zelle, and contact any of the administrators by setting a group, a message on the forum if you can, or maybe here, and we are usually good at it. We'll get to you and that will be solved. But let's stay focused. Let's stay focus on what we are to do. There's never been a time as important as such, and we're all involved. Not just for everything that Are said, which is awesome, because there's always going to be, when the wind of change is blowing through, some people are going to be, the task is divided. But make no mistake that every one of us across the globe, Cameroonians, we are involved, and everyone is participating, and we can all participate by donating. So thank you, Are.
Yeah, merci beaucoup, Elisabeth. C'était juste pour repréciser. Are a pris le temps de donner en détail quels étaient les grands axes de la stratégie post-électorale de Project C. L'objectif résumé par Elisabeth, c'est vraiment obtenir que les Camerounais aient le président qu'ils ont choisi. Si on pouvait résumer comme ça, ce serait ça. Mais c'est sûr que Project C, malgré toute sa volonté, ne peut pas y arriver seul. C'est toutes les mains sur le volant, comme Elisabeth disait. Project C, pour répondre à Zouzou qui a posé la question, Project C, ce n'est pas pour un un groupe seul. Project C, c'est pour Cameroun, c'est pour Change, c'est pour citoyens, c'est pour tout ce que vous, pour conciliation, tout ce qui peut amener les Camerounais ensemble, se tenir ensemble et obtenir ce qu'ils ont librement, démocratiquement et souverainement décidé. Donc, ce n'est pas pour un groupe, c'est du nord au sud, de l'est à l'ouest, toutes les tribus, toutes les ethnies, toute la diaspora. Et c'est pourquoi il est vraiment important que tout le monde se sente concerné, à appeler, à sensibiliser, à rassembler, à mobiliser tous les Camerounais, diaspora, toutes les 10 régions, et que ça se fasse avec une détermination et un pacifisme qu'on n'aura jamais remarqué au Cameroun. Et Harry a pris le temps de détailler, de détailler. Je ne pourrais pas revenir sur tous les détails comme il a fait, mais c'est principalement que les Camerounais soient mobilisés pour travailler ensemble dans la paix et même de façon éducative. On a été marqué de voir combien l'armée, certaines personnes parmi l'armée ont encadré des populations pendant que malheureusement d'autres tuaient des Camerounais. Il y en avait qui se montraient réellement professionnels. C'est ce genre de sensibilisation que nous voulons aussi mettre à la lumière du jour, faire comprendre à tout le monde. Il a parlé de la lettre au président. Il y a eu plusieurs initiatives qui ont été engagées, plusieurs lettres. D'accord. Donc, je regardais juste les réactions que certains envoyaient. On comprend l'enthousiasme. Il y a un très, très grand enthousiasme et ça nous marque beaucoup. On va partager à nouveau le lien WhatsApp pour ceux qui n'ont pas encore rejoint le lien. N'oubliez pas que c'est tous les Camerounais qui doivent rejoindre. On est 30 millions de Camerounais. Si on pouvait avoir un groupe WhatsApp de 30 millions de Camerounais, ce serait plus facile. Mais merci vraiment pour l'enthousiasme et l'encouragement. Donc, on va partager le lien WhatsApp encore et toutes les questions. Il y en a vraiment. Toutes les questions pourront être adressées, posées et répondues via le lien WhatsApp. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Herman. With that resume given, this strategy that I just presented is actually going to be translated into French. We're going to be sharing it within our WhatsApp group, and it could go as far as it could go. We want people to know that we're going to do what we have to do to achieve the objectives that we've set for ourselves. We also know that it has been announced that Monday to Wednesday is going to be a ghost town in Cameroon. We're asking people in Cameroon, like I said jokingly last week, but on a serious note, please use this weekend, use today, use tomorrow, to ensure that you are fortified for the week ahead. Make sure that you have water saved, make sure that you have food, make sure that you have VPN, right? Make sure that you download VPN and make sure that you have other means of communicating. Get a flashlight, make sure that you have all of those things that will prepare you to be able to sustain yourself for the next 3 days. And ask that in your various communities that you have emergency means of communication, of being able to support people that would be affected by this, by what would be happening in the next few days. Find ways in which you can raise alarm if you have somebody's house being attacked or somebody being arrested. How can you communicate that? How can you reach out to the collective des avocats if you are being arrested or targeted to be arrested? Like the Metro Kenya said, it's incredibly important to have legal representation when you are when you are at the police station, and that you have to not say anything if you are arrested. We have to communicate this, and we will be investing time and resources to make sure that we are sharing this with like we did effectively prior to the campaign. We also asking that you know, like I said, we will make sure that we're on a daily basis, once a day, we'll be shutting down our our WhatsApp platform so that we can communicate with you what the developments are, because sometimes we do communicate, but because there's so much going on, people miss the information and people keep asking the same. We will be back here again next Saturday with developments, and I tell you, this week is going to be revealing. This week will be historic for the future of our country, Cameroon. If you think last week was historic, wait until this week. Obviously, the regime in place is going to be making attempts at swearing in the person who lost the elections, the person who has lost legitimacy in the eyes of the Cameroonian people. But that's not the big, that's something that we, the Cameroonian people, must disregard. That is a distraction from where we are as a people. We are moving forward without seeing that regime as illegitimate. And the only thing that is left for the Biya regime it's the military, which we acknowledge. The military cannot necessarily grant legitimacy to a government. It may force the people, it may torture the people, it may pressure the people, but it would never give legitimacy to the government of Cameroon. And it is up to each one of us to remember that legitimacy comes from the people, not from the institutions that have lost legitimacy, not from a government of people that are unelected and not representative of the people. So the people remain here, the key aspect of how we move forward. Never lose sight of that. And somebody even said in the group here that we cannot call them anymore a government because they have no recognition from the people. So I think it was Norbert who said that. But we, the people in Cameroon, you have to make the sacrifice. You have to stand up on the side of truth and justice. And yes, it will take some sacrifices. And we in the diaspora are here to support you, and will continue to do all we can to ensure that the regime doesn't have a possibility to thrive. We're talking days or weeks, not months or years. That's the plan. So I think at this point, Eric, if you have more, if you have more to round us up for the day, so that we can get to implementing the strategy which we just unveiled here. I'll turn it over to you. Then we can.
Sure.
We can.
Thanks a lot, Ray. I was reading some of the statements that were put out here, and one of them is supposedly coming from this influencer, this blogger, Biya, who is suggesting that Tchiroma and Biya are playing games, and Tchiroma is currently being protected by Mr. Biya. Look, I believe, Mr. Biya, I hope you're listening, and if you are, all I can do is advise you that these are very serious times in the history of our country. And if you want to serve this country, the least you can do is verify your facts, and deliver information that Cameroonians can actually use, than take us on a wild goose chase on a road that leads us to nowhere. So please, we can't stop you from being, this is my second interaction with you in all the years of what you've been doing, and both times it's been to again question the veracity of what you're doing and what you're saying. You cannot be taken seriously if we can't rely on the facts that you give. So anyway, Mr. Tchiroma is not in some game with Mr. Biya. We just talked about the deaths and how personally he's taking these deaths. You think he's in a game? where you allow people to be killed. I'm not sure why you say that. Anyway, but for anybody who's paying attention to Bien Tong, please, I would advise you to think again, because so far it doesn't always seem to be on the side of truth. The second thing was, again, I saw someone say that we need a statement of sympathy. That we need a statement of sympathy from Mr. Tchiroma. He's put out a statement of sympathy. He's already done it twice, I think. So you may have just missed that. But more importantly, he is monitoring what is happening in the country. But initially, he had to be safe. He had to figure out where to be and be in a safe place. Because, of course, if they get him as they wanted to, initially sent a helicopter load of military people to arrest him, bring him dead or alive to Yaoundé. This again is true. That team went to Garoua to pick him up, but wiser minds within the government, I think, prevailed, and the team was asked to come back. But had the hotheads in government prevailed in what they wanted, Tchiroma might have been picked up, and that would have been the end of this. So it's important that he stays safe. We all agree, I think, and it's important. So the first order of business for him is his own security, and then now, of course, to work with the rest of us. And we are a disparate group. There are people in Cameroon. There's us in different parts of the world. We're all working, to ensure. I'm sorry about the noise in the background. Of course, it's a child crying. But we're all, working in different places, and there's been some initial difficulties with coordination, but I think, we're coming together as we should, and we're trying at the level of Project C to ensure that, all the parts, fit in as we move forward, because it's also urgent. And as Are was saying, we're getting into a critical week. We're getting into possibly what might turn out to be the most critical set of events in the history of the country this week. Please pay attention, play your part, try to figure out what's going on, see what you can do. We've talked about all the ways in which, through you saw the strategy. There's a range of ways you can contribute. You can contribute ideas. You can contribute action. You can, we're trying to reach out to institutions. We're trying to reach out to people, senators, members of parliament, you name it, international institutions, the UN, and so on. So all of us can play a part. All of us, and this is the time, especially the week we're going into. I really hope that we'll all rise to the occasion, and in the coming weeks and months, that we can all look back to this period and say we did what we had to do to save Cameroon. I think the only thing I'm going to finally say is, as you know, there's some hard decisions that, there are two things. One is a poll. We're putting out a poll. I don't know whether Ari wants to talk about this or Elizabeth, but it's a poll with, which will allow us to demonstrate that this is not about any agenda by Project C or anybody else. This is just trying to get to the bottom of the truth. And that poll will allow us, we're putting out, I think, just 2 or 3 questions at the most, and we want people to respond to that. please respond as soon as if you see it. It won't take 3 minutes. Oh, no, it won't take a minute. You can click, and that's it. And then you send it in. And that will allow us to develop a narrative that takes that the international community and the national community can relate to. So there's going to be that poll. And then my final point is that we will be, and maybe this comes to the money. I hate talking about money. Let Elizabeth do that. That's her game. But we're going to need to move a lot of things and people. I am currently, for example, in Dakar. I need to go to another country where some action is going to take place. I swear to you, it's not going to be on the money you're contributing. I believe I can take care of myself. But I'm just saying that I'm not the only one. There are lots of other people, journalists, people in the diplomatic communities and so on, that we may need to move around, and we will need resources for that. So see, Elizabeth, I can also speak to money issues as you do so easily. But we're going to need it, and this week more than any other is when things have to happen. This week and going forward, we will always. And there's been a lot of talk about transparency. I can guarantee you, because I see who's contributing. Even when somebody says anonymous, we see that. You see it. It's out there. I think, I don't know how we intend to demonstrate the efficient use of these resources. Everything that's being done is documented and will be put out there. So, I would, for once, I think we'll do one thing that Mr. Biya's Cameroon has never learned to do, which is to be transparent, to put, to justify every dollar and to produce results. That's what we're going to be doing, and we'll show them. And my hope is that as we go into a new regime and a new way of managing that country, it will be open to these kinds of ideas. It will be open to new ideas, open to transparent management of the Commonwealth. That's what we're talking about. And I really hope that we will stand together, knowing that if we fail, think about it, if we fail, the same bunch of people will run that country for the next 7, and then what they'll do over the next 7 is perfect the art of staying in power. So there'll be another 7 and another 7. That's what we're talking about. So please, let's get to work. And I don't even want, nobody should be thinking, can we not? Should we not? No, we have an objective. We will get to that objective. And I hope that's what is driving every single one of us. We will get there. And those people who are in our midst right now listening, let them take the message home. You, Mr. Ngongo, you, Mr. Baboke, you name it, Mr. Tanganji, you will not survive. It will not happen. We're going to make sure you don't. Not if, all of us together with the access we all have around the world and the possibilities we have, you will not survive. So, the best thing to do maybe is to do the right thing, have Mr. Biya call Mr. Tchiroma, congratulate him, and let's ease up. Mr. Tchiroma is coming in as a transitional leader. He's not coming in to be there for more than 5 years. Actually, we're talking about 3 to 5. Set this country back on track for transparent elections, for proper management of state resources, for real investments in the things that the country does, in the things that the public services that the country offers. Open up the country to new investors with proper, contracts that serve the people. That's the change we seek. And Mr. Tchiroma is only an agent of that change. And he'll be there to do it. We will make sure he does it, delivers it in the next 3 to 5 years. And then we organize elections so that we can become like Ghana, where transitions from one government to another it's not dramatic. so that we become even like Kenya, where the hot-headed people of Kenya, the tribal divisions in Kenya, nobody thought you could go from a Kikuyu to, to another Luo and so on. They didn't think it was possible in Kenya. It has been possible. So Kenya to now, they transition with ease from one government to another. In Senegal, let me just recall this. President Diouf, before the Constitutional Council declared results, Diouf called Wade and congratulated him. Not because Wade had won, but because sitting where he was sitting, the president saw the trends and realized that it was going in Wade's direction. And before anybody did anything, he felt the need to calm, the tensions in the country, and immediately called Wade. And as soon as he did, peace came to Senegal, and Senegal has been on that path ever since. Wade tried to hold on to power. Street said no. He gave to Macky Sall. Macky Sall tried to have another term. The street said no. He gave to Diomaye Faye. That's Senegal. That's Ghana. Even the Gambia, where what's his name? Jammeh tried to hold on. Yeah, Jammeh, where he tried to hold on. He had to leave because his successor was even sworn in outside the country. And as soon as he was sworn in with the support of ECOWAS, he rode back into Banjul as the next president. So there have been examples of these things happening. Even in Cote d'Ivoire, Ouattara was sworn in a hotel room and went to replace Gbagbo, even though it was not under the most humane of circumstances. But that happened. So I want to plead with those who are here to report on what we are saying to the government. I want to plead with them. It's in the interest of Cameroon. That's all we are working for. None of us here is working to earn a living in Cameroon. No. So I'm pleading with you. Remind them that what we're doing for the country. That's our singular objective. And that, whatever that Mr. Biya can ease the pain, reduce the deaths, stop the deaths and the arrests by simply doing the right thing. We know, one, he's not in charge. He's not in charge. Let's not perpetuate that lie. He is not in charge. We know, two, that there's no vision for the country. It's not Ngongo or Chantal Biya who would talk about a vision for Cameroon. Where do they want to take the country? It's not going to happen. Not at Tanganji. Nobody else, not even Mutaze, for whom I have some respect. Even he will not tell you that he has a vision for Cameroon. Or Usman May. None of them. So let's, or not to talk of our brother and friend, John Gute. They have no vision for Cameroon. We want somebody who can say, this is where I want to take the country. And Issa Tchiroma is saying, the first things first, let's clean up, let's know what the situation is with our debt. We are over-indebted. So, the first thing we want to know. Two, let's resolve the crisis, the various crises in the country, especially the crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest. Let's resolve that from day one. We'll address it. Let's release all these political prisoners who have no reason to be where they are. Let us have a national conference of reconciliation so Cameroonians can stop looking at each other from your Bamileke and Beti. We are Cameroonians. That work needs to be done. We need to clean house so that we can start afresh. And if we do, we will develop one of the best countries on the planet. And I know that Cameroon can get there because I left this country, went to the United States, studied, and I was in a hurry to come back home because Cameroon was on that trajectory of growth and we could see it. So let's, it's all very possible. I'm saying all of this to say, please support us, support Tchiroma to get to power, not because Tchiroma is Tchiroma. No, who we see, as far as I'm concerned, He's just somebody, he's now become a symbol, an agent of change, and someone who's committed to changing the country. So please support us, support him to support us so that we can move ahead with the country we all love, and a country that God gave us with amazing resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Eli, I'll turn this over to you to wrap this up as we begin our movement towards this next historic week in the history of Cameroon.
I just want to say that as we get here, I just want to thank you, Ari, so much for today and for doing the presentation on Project C's behalf, so that we begin to be clear transparently on our intentions and what we plan to do, which is nothing but to be a voice, collective voice, to serve the people of Cameroon. And Eric, I know you're not in your base, and you're in Senegal and doing a lot of things. And I think on behalf of everyone, we just want to thank you for the commitment, having the courage to, not just leave the thoughts you had in mind, but the love for your country so much that you had to push through and line up the people who saw the same vision. And now, we're in thousands, and I know that it could be all 30 million Cameroonians, as Herman said. But as we are concluding today, I know that Ari has already concluded and Eric has already said everything. I really don't have much to say, but I want to draw our attention, something that really has been in my heart, and it's a national conversation. I hope the people of Cameroon do really get this message, because we're giving Biya so much power. It is true that where we are today is a consequence of actions that he has taken, the lack of it that has brought our country to this situation. But he's an ailing old man. And I say this with all due respect, because it has to be said, on the blood of those who have died. There's a level of diplomacy that we're talking to each other shouldn't really survive at this time. And he has created the situation. He has to take responsibility for that. But I think we have to recognize that he is not the person on a day-to-day basis being in meetings and engineering what's going on. And I really want us to think about this, because it's been in my mind. When you take Ngongo, Ayolo, and all the gangs, I dare to say that, the gangs, who are doing what they're doing, I want you to think, if we think they're serving Cameroon, people who have houses, 600 cars, a level of exuberance that, even people in the Western nation cannot even dare to do that. And they're living these lives right amongst our people having companies that are thriving solely funded by our money in the Western world. We really have to think about it. Do you think that they are going to support Biya, or they want change? So we really have to bear in mind that Biya is not necessarily, I hate to say this, but I wonder what an almost 100-year-old man can do, who needs care 24/7, if he can execute and say, this is what I want. I want to believe that he wants to rest. I want to believe that he wants to be with his grandkids or his family, whatever. But the truth is, we have gangsters like Sicilian mafias who are around him, and they are going to hold down, not for the love of Cameroon, not to do anything, but because, like I said, for the greed that they're living. We really have to keep that. Every time we see another child who is in the streets, people being killed, we should know that they also are the criminals. They also are the ones in charge of what is going on. And that is, I do have the audacity to say that. And that they will pay for this. They will pay, the longer they stay, they will pay for it. And that's what we are fighting. Because, as a mother with children, how do we stay and know that there are other children who are still our children who don't have a future because of this? So we've really have come to a place in our country that we have never been. And it's not all dark and gloom. It's actually more hope. We are at the verge of a change that we've not had in a very long time. So my ask is only two things. Everything that we've heard from Are and we've heard from Eric, which really just joins to the fact that we right now have to think as one. I want to just appeal to everyone to have a vision, because without a vision, we perish. So doubts and conversations and the lack of the ability for us not to hold our, what goes first is a vision. What goes first is that energy, irrespective of any action being taken. So we have this next few days or weeks for a week for what we know will happen is that we have to have the same vision. If you can't do anything but just know that this will happen, engage in that. That's the first thing, is the vision. And that energy permeates everywhere. It will break every barrier. And then the next thing are the actions that we're taking, which Eric has talked about. Metro Fabian, whom we thank so much, the sacrifice that he's making. We don't even have enough lawyers. We definitely have a handful, but we don't even have enough. We need more. And all that Are has already shown on what Project C is doing. I want to appeal to the rest of us that the action that we can take, as you know, is number one, right now, right this moment you're listening to me. I'm going to be daring to say, if you gave money in the beginning, don't you think maybe you can add another, maybe $100 right now or $50 right now? Because the information you had when we started and the information now has shifted as you've gotten more. Now, maybe it's time right now, as we're speaking, that you might want to text somebody. Maybe you text 2 people, you can text 3. Maybe you can talk to people. There are lots of Cameroonian sympathizers, as we've been seeing on social media. People who are bleeding for our country. How do we appeal to them? Those are the things we can do. We can keep the conversation ongoing, very active, with one narrative. Is the narrative that Biya and the gang members, the people who are not for the benefit of the majority of Cameroon, I really say this with a ton of courage, because I know that my last name serves me sometimes, most of the time it doesn't. So I'm saying this to Cameroon. I'm saying this to those who are listening in Cameroon, is we can no longer go forward. We cannot. And if we don't have the heart, the compassion for other humanity within our own family in Cameroon, then you cannot serve this nation. And you have not been serving the nation. So it is time that we make a change. And the change will come about because the strength of the people, the belief of the people cannot be broken. And that's where we are today. We're in a whole different place today. And there's one way out of this tunnel. It's going to be the victory of the Cameroonian people. It's going to be a third president in Cameroon. It's going to be a liberation of our republic. It is one way. There's no other way. That is the confidence of which we come with. And that is the message that we're sending. It is not a threat. It is just a simple fact. You either have the ability to serve people or you do not. And if you do not, then you need to step aside. That's where we are. So my biggest plea to you is that we need money because we're fighting against a regime that is, they're not spending our money correctly and they're doing all sorts of things. This is the one time that we've ever done before that everyone can stretch themselves, can put money down. And I know Eric said that everything will be published. Well, we're not publishing if you want to be anonymous, for sure. But what we're saying is that we are being very accountable. Every penny that is spent is being accounted for. We do have several people who are in charge of this account. So everything is very, decisions are being taken very thoughtfully. And so we just want to encourage you to trust in the process, to trust in what we have to do. We ask of you to pay attention in the next 2 days. Spread the word of everyone staying in their house for 3 days. Spread the word of pay attention for the news that we're going to be bringing you in the next couple of days. And we have to act And that's where we are right now. I almost want to say that as we leave today, I want to really end with us feeling the unity that we are. I mean, I don't know when I've ever felt fully Cameroonian than I do now, and with such pride for who we really are. Because, many times it's on the tribe, it's on the religion, it's on what school you went to, where you lived. But I hope we're all aware of the fact that we're in as Cameroonians first. And because of this oneness, that's how far we've gotten today. And because of this oneness, it's why we will turn things over, why we were going to turn this chapter of our country. It's actually going to be a new book. It's because of our oneness. So please be mindful of people who are not aware of the oneness, and make sure that in the conversations we're not engaged in division, but oneness. And we should call people up to the oneness for this time only, right? And we can do this. I know we can. So Ari, thank you so much. And I know that we're going to see a surge in the giving. I don't know if Maître Fabien, as he's in Cameroon, wanted to say a word as we just close. Okay, very good.
It's just a mot de ta part.
Yeah.
Un dernier mot, Maître.
Oui, un dernier mot, juste un dernier mot, s'il vous plaît.
Voilà.
Un dernier mot, je voudrais tout simplement dire que soyez-en sûrs, et ça c'est peut-être à l'adresse de ceux qui sont en difficulté, ils ne sont pas seuls. Project, n'est-ce pas, leur apportera tout son soutien, surtout au collectif, pour qu'ils puissent juguler leur apporter du soutien à toutes ces personnes, à la famille. Et je voudrais aussi exhorter les gens à nous faire confiance en ces temps difficiles pour que nous travaillons ensemble afin que le Cameroun devienne un État de droit, en sorte que ces citoyens ne puissent plus aller s'évader pour être à l'extérieur. Là où vous êtes, ou pour certains mourir, n'est-ce pas, à la Méditerranée, que cela soit comme le grand frère Tingela dit, un véritable paradis terrestre, l'un des États les plus riches, les plus attrayants de l'Afrique. C'est ce que je voudrais dire pour conclure.
Merci beaucoup, Maître, and thank you.
Ari,
yes.
There's a couple of things I saw which I think we shouldn't leave unanswered. One is someone suggested that we put out the names of the enablers. They need to know who they are, and the group will talk about it, and we'll figure out how to handle that. So I just want the person to know that, and he kept coming. I think it was Norbert or somebody kept coming back on it. Somebody was concerned about the congratulations from the African Union and others, and they think it would weaken our case. No, quite the contrary. We will be going back to them with the case. We'll make the case for what we are doing. We're not just going to, that's why we talked about a very strong diplomatic outreach, and it's going to happen in the coming days. As soon as we're done with this, we are having another meeting to discuss concrete next steps, and that will be one of the things we do. Somebody suggested an outreach to religious authorities. That's very much a part of, I'm not, we've been going in and out of that, how we engage with the religious authorities, because they too are doing quite a bit. But I think, again, maybe that's something we need to also talk about, would bring clarity to the partnership. It's only in the last few days that we realized that the disparate ways we've been working might weaken us as a collective. So we're going to, I think we're going to reach out more in a more coherent and a more intentional way to those people, to the religious authorities. I think that's all I made a note of. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric. And I also saw somebody was asking whether we're going to have a meet week Zoom on Wednesday. Let me just say we're going to be agile in this process and be able to adapt or announce if there is a need for us to have a Zoom, and we're always going to do it in collaboration with other platforms so that we can reach more people. I don't know how many people are out there. If Kingsley can tell us how many people are on this platform today, but typically when we combine efforts, we go more than hundreds into thousands of people that we engage at the same time. So it's not only people who are registered on the Zoom, but people who can also watch on YouTube, on Facebook, and X, so that we get maximum exposure. So yes, we will be agile, and we may stay tuned. We promise that we'll be giving you daily updates going forward. We will be doing that. Thank you very much. It was great to have you. Thanks for your time and attention and support.
Goodbye.